Reports from departments. I believe we have one. Greg DeLong, Community Development Director.
This will be a repeat from the Delhi Business Association meeting this morning, but and I'll interject here and there, but I'll let Greg take the lead, please,
Sure.
sir.
Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to give you an update on economic development efforts. We hope this is an update, but also to help answer some questions that we've been hearing throughout the community of just things going on.
You don't hear rumors, do you?
No, we never hear rumors at all. Never at all. One thing we want to talk about was, what is economic development? We are a division within the Department of Community Development, which also contains the divisions of planning and zoning. This is kind of a new office for the township. We're responsible for the day-to-day coordination of business development and growth in the township, and we also work closely with the township trustees and our elected officials and the administration on meeting our goals and objectives that are found in our plans and regulations. What plans guide the development of the township? We have the primary plan to guide development within the township is the Plan to Pike, Delhi Township Strategic Redevelopment Plan. This was adopted back on November 23rd of 2015. Additionally, we use our zoning map and our zoning resolution to assist us in land use regulations for the township. Just kind of give you a little history of what we used to get where we are. What are some of the key components of the plan? It provides a long-range vision of Delhi Pike with 5-year incremental goals. It initiates strategies for catalytic redevelopment on aging commercial properties and provides guidance in updating the township zoning resolution. And this includes increased design standards, landscaping standards, parking standards, and sign standards. This is actually an ongoing project that you will be seeing soon, where we are creating a new zoning district for the Pike, which will address the topics within the plan. What are some of the current challenges we have in implementing the plan? And this question kind of comes up to address, like, why aren't we seeing things happening so quickly? Asking prices for land on the Pike has substantially skyrocketed since we have adopted the plan. It has actually deterred some developers from developing on the Pike. We have heard this from various developers we've communicated with. We are working with property owners to kind of talk to them about their value that they're expecting for their land. We have some parcels of land, if you break it down by a per acre cost, they're asking $2.4 million per acre. Averages out to about $550,000 for about a quarter acre piece of land. So for developers, that's a deterrent because they have to make a living off of doing their development, and then when they try to recruit users for their properties, they have to ask really high rents, and it just doesn't work for them. So it is kind of a deterrent right now, so it is one of our challenges, but we'll keep working with the property owners to get through that. Another thing is the cost of redeveloping currently built upon properties can be very costly. It's a lot more expensive to do that than it is for greenfields. Especially on Delhi Pike, we have existing buildings that will need to be removed. Then you also have to do the environmentals. So sometimes it's the unknown with the environmental. You just don't know what you're getting into, and that could be very costly to remedy. And also we're running into issues with finding available funding opportunities to offset the gap financing. And we as a township are limited on what we can provide. We do have TIF and JED funds that we'll be able to possibly use to assist them, but that's only going to be for public infrastructure such as sidewalks, curb cuts, you know, if any utility upgrades in the right-of-way. We could use it for demolition, but we cannot help them with the bones and structure, or the bones of their buildings and getting the buildings constructed. We have had discussions with certain developers, and in instances there are up to $3.5 million in gap financing that they need to find. So
and that's
it is a challenge.
Yeah, right, and that's why I'll interject just two quick things. And one, you know, the two biggest hurdles of this gap when developers are saying we got too big of a gap, it is the price of the land. That's probably number one, and number two is the cost of the financing. So we have been working with the port of Greater Cincinnati and others to that can offer that we can work with developers to get a low interest rate deal, so that we think we may have help with those issues. And of course, like he said, I will say this: TIF funds, and of course, if we enter a JED agreement with a user. We've been asked for TIF funds before or for certain projects, but of course, I think correct me if I'm wrong, board, but before the township's going to utilize TIF or JED funds, it must meet the vision of the township that we have put into the plan. I mean, we did this plan for a reason. This is where we see and want the pike to go, and we're not going to invest say TIF dollars into things that do not meet the plan, do not enhance, do not benefit the township that, according to what we felt like the plan did. So I did want to state that, but the price of the land, I will be really bold to say, I mean, property owners can ask for whatever they want. It's their land. We're not the developers, but I'm telling you, developers are walking. They are not even asking or negotiating with land owners that are purely just asking 3, 4, 5 times the amount that it should be. And what's sad is some of them have put on their listing, their real estate listing, that this site is part of the economic development plan for the township, and then justify their price with that. I mean, that's all said and good. But when things get developed around them, hopefully, they're going to be sitting with a vacant parcel that they probably may you wish you should have, would have, could have done something so much nicer, but I may be sitting vacant because of their asking price. So please, people, I mean, I just appeal to landowners that, this vision is good. It is going to be for a limited time, that, hey, we have direction, we have vision, we have momentum moving forward. But if people are going to try to, ask unreasonable rates, it's not going to work, because the entire plan was based on certain pricing. It was a price point of the plan, that this plan could be done at X price. And if you're at X, Y, Z plus ABC price, it's just not going to work.
Okay. Another thing we're hearing is, where are we at with the plan's implementation? We're really at the point where it's behind the scenes activity going on. I know the community wants to see a shovel in the ground, as Cheryl likes to say, or trustee CV, but we are working hard, and that is something we want the community to know. We are at that stage where, it is a lot of talking with developers, realtors, dealing with this land value issue. So we are working hard. We are continuing to market the township and the Pike to prospective businesses and developers. Again, it's that challenge of winning them over and getting them to, realize the value of the Pike. Finalizing the zoning resolution is a key thing we need to complete. As I said, that will come before you soon. Right now, if a developer came in the door, it would be hard for us to tell them no. Our current regulations will allow the massive parking lots out front with big buildings sitting way far away from the road. Our plan is calling for a walkable neighborhood with mixed-use development. So our new zoning district will allow for the mixed use, which will allow the residential component, because currently right now residential is prohibited on Delhi Pike. And then we're going to also beginning work here soon on the Delhi Pike bike path economic analysis study, which is again funded through Hamilton County. So it is no cost to the township. When we mentioned that this morning at the Business Association, the Mount reps were over there applauding us. So they were happy to see a project like this hopefully coming in the future for their students and employees. So that was very nice to see that support. Again, here's a question: when is the township going to develop properties? Currently, the properties are primarily privately owned on the Pike. So we are limited, so we have to work with them. We do have 2 properties the CIC recently purchased, and we can talk a little bit about that later on here. And like Pete mentioned, the township is not in the business of being developers. So we have to recruit, partner, and assist with relationships between developers and landowners, and we're doing a pretty good job of that, bringing all the parties, like Pete mentioned, the Port Authority, who can assist with financing, to the table with them, so we can get these projects hopefully going soon. And the township is also encouraging the redevelopment land. We cannot force it to happen. Again, that's a key thing. Since we don't own land except 2 small parcels, we cannot force redevelopment, but we can encourage it. So again, it's a tough road ahead and it's a tough road behind us, but we'll get there. It just takes time, unfortunately. When is the township going to clean up properties on Delhi Pike? And this is one question we hear quite a bit of, and that is talking about dilapidated structures, broken windows, facades that may be falling apart. Currently, the township only has a nuisance code, which only allows us to regulate excessive vegetation, junk vehicles, and debris. A separate code, which the township does not have in place, is what you call property maintenance code, and that regulates the exterior of buildings, facades, paint, roof conditions, gutters, pretty much anything with the structures. As I've said, we do not have a code like that. There's many obstacles with having a code like that if we decided to go down that path right now. A lot of it has to do with staffing. We have one zoning inspector who covers the whole township, and it takes really 3 of us right now to keep up with just our nuisance code. So we're all chipping in to help out there. Just cost with additional staffing, cost with legal costs that may come along with taking, property owners to court. And you also can't pick and choose. We have to be equal with everyone. So while you may see one building that looks really, really bad over here, you may have a nice little house over here that has a gutter falling off. We have to treat them equally. So that's a challenge too. And that puts a burden on the property owners, especially when it gets into the residential component. They may not have funding to fix their properties. There are programs through Hamilton County. A lot of that's income eligible. So it's kind of, something out there that could help, but not a guarantee to help them. And currently the township, we are doing what we can do with the regulations we have adopted and legally can follow, and that is kind of cleaning up the signs on Delhi Pike. And I think when you drive down the pike, you can definitely see a big improvement with the temporary signs. They're still out there, but they're pushed out of the right-of-way, so you do have like a nice clear vision. I always tell people drive kind of on like maybe Cleves, Warsaw. You can tell from one side of the road to the other who's enforcing sign regulations. It's just, it looks good, So we are doing what we can. It does clean up the appearance of the pike, and, and people are noticing it. We're actually hearing more compliments than complaints, which is a good thing. So here are some of the fun questions we're hearing from the community about the plan. Why hasn't any development started? Our plan is 9 months old. That's one of the things. Second, we really need to get our zoning put in place to get what we want out of any developments that come along. Like I said, our new zoning code will now require landscape islands in parking lots. Current code, it's something you can opt out of. Building setbacks will be close to the streets, increased design standards. So you're not going to have a building on a corner that may just look like it has one entrance. You're going to have design standard features on all sides. So we're going to do stuff like that. Regulating signs is going to be a big one. Pole signs will not be permitted anymore, is the proposal. So you'll see more ground-mounted signs. It's going to dress up the pike tremendously, give it that walkable feeling. Another question we have is the plan is calling for a CVS to be built. Where is it? Again, the plan was calling for a potential pharmacy at the location of the East of Greenwell site, which is the Delhi Chili. Again, it's a vision. It was called out in the plan. We can't make it happen. We can try our best to recruit somebody there. It has been attempted by a developer to recruit CVS there, and it just unfortunately was not their time yet. So there's a lot of variables that go into it from what we were talking about earlier, land values, and certain businesses also have standards on traffic counts. We think Delhi Pike is busy, but it may not have the traffic counts that businesses do require for minimum. So there are obstacles. Why isn't the township controlling the types of uses opening up on the pike? Unfortunately, we are hearing some comments about some new users on the pike. I think there are residents in the community that feel there are probably less than desirable types of uses. Our current code does allow them to be there. Our future code would allow them to be there because they do fall under what we would classify as a retail use or a medical use. So it's kind of hard for us to start saying, we want you, we can't allow you, when you're all kind of under the same umbrella as a retail or medical or something, some type of category. So it is a question we do hear a lot of. I'll let Pete answer the next one, but we do get a few questions on what's going to happen to the soon-to-be vacated fire station.
And of course, that's the plan, unless miracles still happen. We're looking at March at, probably the earliest time period. But with the catalytic site of the old Delhi Chili, we would entertain for redevelopment of that. Currently, the house next to the firehouse and the fire station itself are still zoned residential. So even if right now we kicked out our fire guys and said, hey, we sold this to AB Body Shop, everybody thinks, man, that would make a, two-door, two-garage bay. Maybe somebody's little mechanic could work on something like that. Nope, that couldn't happen because it's zoned residential. So a body shop couldn't even, or a mechanic couldn't even take ownership and make that a business. It could not be because it's not zoned that. But it being a firehouse can sit in residential, and zoning allows for that. But with the firehouse, we're entertaining for redevelopment of the entire Delhi Chili Pike, or Delhi Chili corner. We're entertaining, of course, with just proposals of what we would do with the firehouse, whether sell or with a jet agreement or something of that nature, what we could do. But we want to definitely encourage all, because you're talking a lot of dilapidated and empty buildings right there. So we would hope to help spur development with bait of a firehouse, the old property, to get something accomplished there. So nothing's concrete whatsoever yet, but we have till March till it's even empty. But that's kind of the thinking. We're not really going to sell it. It can't be really used as a business, although with the new zoning standards, the zoning in that area will be changed. I think with us owning that property, that can help us have a stake in what does go there. Because I think if somebody says, oh, we want to build this, and this, we can say, well, you're not getting our firehouse if that's what you're going to build there. So that puts us in a good position to hopefully help dictate to some degree what can go in there, within reason. So that answers that.
Yep. And then another question we hear is, why is the township buying properties on Delhi Pike? And as you're aware, the CIC, which is an economic development arm of the township, has been they purchased 2 properties. But this is a key thing for economic development efforts. You purchase them in the hope that you can accumulate more land to spur economic development in the future. So we do have 2 properties now. We're hoping in the future to purchase more. Then we can work with a developer we kind of get into the development field, I guess, but we're not developers. But we can offer up land and get some development started in certain areas of the Pike. So we do have the CIC, which is doing that. So that is why the township CIC is buying properties on Delhi Pike. I don't know if you wanted to add anything else, Pete.
Well, just pretty much, again, just like we'd use the firehouse as so-called collateral or encouragement from a developer, that we could, the CIC, Community Investment Improvement Corporation, like he said, the arm of economic development of the township. But in doing that, we could hopefully spur development. And again, we could hopefully encourage the type of development, not only based on our strategic redevelopment plan, but also kind of dictate, if we're going to be offering the land, what are we going to get? Hopefully a jet agreement, hopefully a certain type of business or home or mixed use retail that we would want. So it gives us a little motivation and a little shove to help development actually occur. And that's what we want. We want development to occur.
Yeah. And one thing, if I could mention, Pete talked about the high costs of real estate right now, the asking prices. We did pay what we believe fair prices for both of those properties as well.
Yeah. Yes, and the analysis Greg did shows that we're within the average of the pricing. It's just the other properties that are for sale right now are 5 times the amount. So it's, yep. And that's just properties across the street from, and right down the street from these properties. So it's not like it's vastly different types of properties. And it's not because of the buildings either. The buildings are going to be tore down. I mean, the buildings that we're seeing for sale, they're not just like Central Hardware. You know, we're probably not going to get a reuse of that building. It's going to need tore down. So people can't necessarily justify cost of that they're asking for properties due to the actual buildings are worth that. That's just not the case.
Yeah. Another question we hear, which I found quite funny myself, is did the township hire additional staff to pull signs? I guess it's good people see us out in the public, but we are doing this as a team effort in the department. So, and Public Works has been a big help with us too, just to pull some of the more difficult signs since they have the tools and equipment. So there are probably a few more people you may see that you typically don't see around out pulling some signs, but we have not hired any additional staff to do this. So we are just doing what our code allows us to do and in the direction we've been given to do. And then a question we get all the time is what businesses are coming to the township and when? That is one we would love to be able to answer. We just have confidentiality, things we've got to work with. As soon as it is public record, we're more than happy to share it. One of the things, this presentation that we did this morning with the DBA, and we hope tonight comes out, is we are transparent. We will share with you and the public what we can. It's just when it comes to this economic development, confidentiality is important. If things get out, developers will walk. So it's one of those things we'll do the best we can in being transparent and share the things, but that we're kind of sometimes limited. So that is pretty much all I've got. So I don't know if you have any questions.
Well, since you brought up that shovel,
Time.
I only say that in jest because I also believe and understand that this is not a sprint. This is a marathon, and 9 months is a short amount of time to even start some of the conversations, frankly, that you two have already started. I mean, people are amazed that you're making that kind of progress with 9 months. So everyone out there who I get asked about the redevelopment, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. We want to get it right and have it long lasting.
Yeah, and thank you for verifying that. I've worked in communities, and it's not going to be positive here, but you can do a plan and developers won't talk to you for 5-10 years. We are very fortunate to be in the situation we're in right now, and we are hoping here soon to have some really good news for the community, and I think it's on the horizon pretty soon. So.
Thank you, Greg, for doing this,
welcome.
both for DBA and for us, because there are some questions out there, and I really felt like the residents needed somewhat of an update.
Sure.
So thank you.
We'll do it anytime for you.
Oh, yeah.